Welcome to another episode of Career Juice, where we talk to real people with real jobs and have real candid conversations around all the juice that it took for them to succeed in the careers that they chose. I'm your host, Tiffany Yard, author of How to Wine with Your Boss and the owner of Motovino, an education platform that ties professional development training with really cool programs around wine. Today we're talking with Kendra Julien, an adolescent immunization specialist out of New Jersey, and Karess Bishop, a clinical manager here at an urgent care facility in New York City. Let's get started. So now we know them in the medical field, physicians, physician assistants, but you guys know very different roles. So tell us about what you guys do now.
Basically what we do, we shadow the doctor, we write the prescriptions, send it electronically over. We also consult with the patients about the medications, what to do, what not to do.
Clinical manager. Now, what is that?
Yes, I do that too. So as a clinical manager, we basically manage the entire facility. It starts from hiring, training, managing the bills, accreditation, and we're in compliance with all our policies. We also go out and market, like if you work for UPS or you work for like Frito-Lay chips and you need a drug screen or you need labs or anything like that, you have to come to us. We'll do it and we'll send it, but that becomes a business account.
Awesome. So Kendra, you're on the adolescent immunization specialist side of things. What does that mean?
So this particular organization that I'm working with, and I went into adolescent immunization, focusing on HPV, the human papillomavirus. So it's the most common sexually transmitted disease. And I started on this program 2 years ago because they saw that there was a need for it in our 8 northern counties of New Jersey. What I do on that role is to educate healthcare providers on how to discuss this vaccine or the importance of the vaccine to parents. Getting the adolescent immunization role, or going into that role, I was doing more environmental health.
Are you also in a field that's predominantly led by women, considering this is the kind of topics that you deal with?
Oh, absolutely. So my organization, probably about 100-something of them are women.
So medical scribes are basically for people who've either graduated medical school or waiting to go into nursing school or PA to become a physician assistant. Maybe nurse practitioner, and you want to get your experience while you wait to go for the program to accept you or to be matched to do your residency. So with that being said, most of them are women that are scribes at my job and all the other jobs that I have scribed at. The pharmacy and the clinical manager and the scribe. And I just love that they all coincide with each other.
You know, I was born and raised in Newark, so that's real urban as it can get, you know, and so there was no gym around us, there was fast food around us, the sidewalks, the infrastructure, you know, wasn't up to par, you know, so I said, yo, public health might be the way. Public health is extremely broad. We you know, public health in this country is a big issue. I mean, no shade to the physicians, right? But I felt like, you know, my mom always said prevention is better than cure.
Oh, yes.
You know,
It did.
You know, vaccine is such a controversial topic. You know, I mean,
There's an organization that you started a few years ago, speaking of looking backward and trying to pull and lift as you climb, right? We Ting, which, if I'm pronouncing that right, the next generation. What's that brainchild?
We Think the Next Generation actually started from our parents. Her father played pan, my stepdad played pan, one of my good girlfriends, her dad played pan, and they were all together. And We Think was actually a Caribbean organization from back in the day. Rather than coming up with some random name, let's continue this generation on, right? So we named it We Think the Next Generation.
What was the purpose?
The purpose, we wanted to not only incorporate our Caribbean community and bring them together as a whole and showcase what we can do with mass and all of that, but we also wanted to push forth the idea of living a healthy lifestyle. Because if you think about the Caribbean community, and I say this all the time, although the roti and the curry chicken and the rice and peas and all of that.
Fish cake.
Back to Barbados, right? So all of that stuff is so good. It's also not healthy for us. They don't teach us about portion control home. It's like come darling, let's bring your plate and I'm gonna put a set of rice on your plate. But we don't realize the obesity rate, how high it is in the Caribbean among diabetes and all of these different things.
High blood pressure, heart disease.
All of that, right?
The lack of a balanced lifestyle where you're actually going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week and it's built into your regular schedule.
Absolutely. And so, my friend, she was just like, I'm going to write this grant. We're going to write a grant. And if we get this money, we're going to put together a day-long program for some women in Newark. And we actually got the grant. And we put together this day-long program at the YMCA in Newark. And we had all these different workshops. I mean, without education, we don't really know much, right? And so it was amazing. And literally, we raised $10,000 in 100 days.
I worked my butt off. And I felt like when I did try to get the job, no one wanted to give you a chance because you didn't have the experience. And I'm like, where am I going to get the experience from? Somebody has to give me a chance. I need someone to say, let's try. So you know what I did? I started reading on my field. Medical terminology, just little things. I'll see something. I'm always looking over the doctor's shoulder or the nurse or the MA or something. What's that? And then I go home, Google it, look it up, read a book, and then just start applying it. And I gained so much knowledge from that. And when they see that you know so much and you're willing and they see that ambition in you, then they're ready to give you that chance. You can talk all the talk you want about what you know, and then when you get there, you knows nothing. You're like, wait, I thought I knew this. Every job in your path of your life prepared you for your next step. Working in the group homes that I did, I love them, even though like they can't help it. Some of them do it excessively in the behaviors, but I could not help but to love those people because it's not their fault. Yeah. They didn't choose this life.
I'm where I'm at today, and
because of her.
Yeah.
And that's a lot to think about what mentorship is. Yeah. Because sometimes, your mentor doesn't even know they're mentoring you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Their footsteps alone are the things that are inspiring you.
Absolutely.
So which makes me think about the people that are coming up under you. Who are you thinking about? Who are you trying to pull through? And you'd be surprised who's watching you.
Absolutely.
When you're thinking about the future, I always, for me anyway, when I'm talking, I think about my next steps. I always think about the blunders, right? What do I want to avoid before I make this next move? With that said, when you think about some of the hardest things you've dealt with, right? Whatever you want to share with us today about what that is.
Well, in the medical field, it's very...
Always drama?
It's just always something, and it's always about covering your tail. It's always a lawsuit. It's a fine line between caring, compassion, and covering your tail. People come to the emergency room or to the doctor for 30 years of damage they've done to their body that we've been trying to explain, hence the public health. Hence us telling you this is what you need to do, the diet, the exercise, and then they come for you to fix 30 years of damage in one day with one pill. It doesn't work like that. This is going to take not just medication, lifestyle modification. It's going to take you actually doing the work. Sometimes people go to church and it gives them that ambition to want to work out.
Fair.
Right. But that's the hardest part about our field is like getting patients to listen and actually want to do it. A tablet is not going to help.
And should I say patients tend to be, very challenging and rewarding people to work with. Right? Considering you're out in the field every day and you talk to not only patients, but just run-of-the-mill folks like me who are just looking for information. How do you deal with conflicts and even amongst your team and, getting the same information out? I mean, is everyone following the same script? Are there tensions? Like, how do you navigate all of that?
I always say this. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm here to educate you. So that's just how I work with the community because everybody has the most to say until we have some big epidemic.
Just to piggyback on her, so they had this restaurant in the Bronx, And I guess someone was sick and they had diarrhea. And basically he had Hep A. But he was the cook. And he had to cook for everyone. People got sick. You know what they did? Everyone who ate at that restaurant, whether it was a whole year ago to now, they ran to the urgent care for the hepatitis A vaccine.
That's just how it works.
When
it hits the fan, guess what?
When it hits the fan,
everything is for me.
They didn't care what it was going to do. They didn't care if they had it or not. They wanted to be tested for it, and they wanted the vaccine. They didn't care how much it cost. Mm-hmm. And it was all over the news.
Now, what's some of the best advice that sticks with you to this day that you think you'd want to impart to everybody else?
Removing that fear and just going for it.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Being very humble in the medical field is very important.
How about in life? Oh,
I mean,
it's a big one.
It's
Humble.
important in life, but you can't go into this field saying, I know. Information changes. And there's a lot of doctors who are like over the age of 50. They're not up to the times with certain new medications. And yes, they're supposed to be, but they're not. And they're so used, like, let's say we have a patient that has a strep throat. We don't treat patients with penicillin anymore like that. They get Augmentin, they get amoxicillin, they get certain types of medications because it's better treated and it will kill it in less days to take it. Or like if you have, as women, we get yeast infections. It's better to give them fluconazole tablet instead of the cream and giving it to them for 2 days instead of 1. So the first day they take 1, the next 3 days they take another 1. So that helps it go away. So some women will take 1 tablet and come back and be like, well, I still have the itching. It's not like how it used to be and what you learned in school. Oh, yes, you just take 1 tablet. Now you got to take 3 and 4. Now you got to take it for a week. And some of these older doctors don't understand that. So I feel like in this field, it's all about being humble. It's important to have great interpersonal skills. You have to have compassion and empathy for these patients because you don't know what they're going through. Just because this is what they're supposed to do doesn't mean that they're going to do it in the way that you told them. Sometimes it takes time. People are going through things. It's hard. They work. They don't have time to eat well. I work outside in a truck. I don't have a microwave. I can't bring lunch to work. A salad is $15 in New York City. A bottle of alkaline water is $8.
You know what I'm saying?
Because some people feel like you're just giving them a tablet or medication and that's point you need rest. And, you know, it's hard. You have kids. You have a family. You have to work. You work 14 hours. And who's to say there's a lot of people that we deal with that have big CEO, COO titles. Those jobs are not easy. It's a lot mentally, and when you have mental exhaustion, it weighs a toll on your body. If you have physical exhaustion, you could just rest. But when you have mental exhaustion, not enough rest is going to get you better or get you back to that 100%. So that's what we really try to educate. And that's, like I said, there's a lot of doctors that have their MPH, their MDs, and they did a dual program. So that's why primary care is so important. Internal medicine is very important because they educate. But going to an urgent care is kind of hard because you're just going to the urgent care. They're dealing with what your chief complaint is. Sore throat.
What's urgent?
Right.
That's pretty much it. They're not even touching. As long as your vitals is not to the point where we need to send you to the emergency room, they're not touching anything else. You can have underlying issues and we wouldn't know as an urgent care. And a lot of people in New York City, I feel they have not seen their primary care in a year or more. And a lot of people just like, oh, well, I don't feel sick. That's not the point. You just need to check, at least get some blood work. Every 3 months, every 6 months.
People really, underestimate the power of our bodies to deal until it can't deal anymore.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, it's when they can't deal anymore, then it's much harder to again fix. So yeah.
Like I said, 30 years of damage, we can't fix you in one day.
Oh, unfortunate. Well, I thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you guys for all tuning in. This has been a really fun episode of Career Juice. Again, real conversations with people with real awesome careers and all the juice that it takes to do well in all the fields that they choose to be in. Tune in Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. and we look forward to seeing you soon. Cheers.
Thank you.
Hair vibes. You know, when you're smelling it, you get some fun fruity notes. Honestly, I get some fruity pebbles out of this, to be perfectly honest. But it's still very clean on the palate, so it doesn't like weigh it down.
You're right.